I'm a contractor, so I am a contractor, so I have to look for work almost all the time. Sometimes my contract runs for years, sometimes my contract runs for months. But one thing I consistently do all the time is look for work. And that means that I have to prepare myself for interviews almost all the time. And over the years, my career is a little bit shy of 20 years. Yeah, that's my fan. Okay, Sean, thanks for telling me. Hold on, guys. Jesus, now I'm going to start sweating in a bit. Is that okay? I hope that's better. Yeah. So what that means is over time, I have to do a lot of interviews. I have to prepare myself. I have to look for work. I have to do all the things I'm going to talk to you about tonight. And I've been consistently doing this for the better part of 17 years. I didn't start out as a contractor. I started out as a full-time employee for Fujitsu Consulting in the UK. Before then, I worked for lastminute.com. If any of you know lastminute.com, I was a web test analyst on that project. So we start. Um, First of all, a lot of people have some misconception about what a CV is. Now, there is a whole lot of description for what a CV is. For me, my CV is a document that I've written myself to showcase my skills, my experience, not anything I'm aspiring to, not anything that I haven't done, things that I know that I haven't done. I generally don't put them on my CV, and you'll see why. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I'm going to show you a few things tonight. I'm going to show you a job application site that we can start from. So we're going to be working off. We're going to be working off JobServe, which is where I look for work most of the time, and LinkedIn. Now I need you to remember this: there are two types of candidates. One, which most of us or all of us falls into, are the candidates who has to look for work before they find work. Okay, as in you have to put yourself out there, prepare your CV, go job hunting, and all of that. The other group of people are those who don't need to look for work, but work look for them. Like people just ring them up and say, "Oh, are you available? Or when does your current contract end? I have a job for you." We should all aspire to be in the second group at some point in our careers. I have been in that second group for a while now. People just ring me up and tell me, "Oh, when your contract finishes, please don't renew. I have a job for you." Now, this is the thing. Over time, when we do anything in our lives, we should get better with it. That's the ideal situation. The same thing applies to your CV. And the very first thing I want to point out about your CV is do not send your CV out for any job without reviewing your CV and the job description. I have various types of CVs, and I'll show you a few in a bit. I have a base CV. My base CV is on job portals. What that tells anyone is what my skill sets are, just general stuff about me. I have a copy of my CV that I review anytime I want to apply for a job. If I see a job advert now and I feel like applying for it, I would open my CV, review my CV, to see if I've captured what those job requirements are. CV is a 50% kind of attribute on your job searching venture. Your CV is designed to get you through the door. Your CV is designed to put you in front of the hiring manager. That's what your CV should do. Okay. Now, let me show you my CV. Okay. Now, the very first CV I'm going to show you was an old one, and I've updated it since then. And now, so I'm just going to go and show you what is in there. So I'm sharing my whole screen with you guys so you can see my screen. Now, this was an old version of my screen, of my CV. This was a CV I used like 5 years ago. I used this CV for a long time. If you can see here, the last row on here was in 2014. And I did that project till 2015, end of 2015. Now, if you look at this CV, it's got my details here at the top in header. It's got a little paragraph about myself, and then my roles, and then my whole experiences way back. Now, that CV served me for a long time. I used it a lot. And the kind of hit I get on the CV is such that I get about 900 views of my CV every week. So, what was wrong with that CV? It was working for me. Okay, it was really working for me. I don't have any problem with it. And we're going to talk through it in a minute. And then I went on a seminar. I'll mention their name later on. And they talked about CV. So I put my CV on the screen and asked them to talk about it. And they talked about it. And the lady called me after the meeting and said, "Your CV is very good. You should keep it up." Now, as a hiring manager, that spooks me. So I looked at my CV again and I changed it. And we'll come to that in a minute. So, how do you design your CV? What sort of things should you put on your CV? There is a rule that I tend to ask people to apply to their CV. Show, don't tell. I need you to show what you've done. Don't tell them. Don't go into the details of what you've done. Show them. Okay. You are a software tester, so you do testing. That is for the taking. Now, what sort of testing have you done? Regression testing. Mention it. Do not tell them what regression testing is. Not on your CV. You've done exploratory testing. Mention it. You've done unit testing, integration testing, all sorts of testing. Mention it. Do not tell them. Don't tell them the stories. Don't go into the details of what exploratory testing is, what regression testing is. No, 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 no. You are taking space that you could use on your CV to tell them something else. So this is my current version of my CV. So let's talk ourselves through this. Okay. So this is my CV. As you can see, the header and footer is gone. The reason the header and footer is gone is because most of the CV screening tools can't read header and footers. They strip them out. Now, if they strip them out and they pick my CV, they won't know whose CV it is. Okay. So this is my CV. I put my name, my mobile number, and email address. It's basically contact details, nothing else. A lot of us Nigerians, we have several names. We have like some of us have like 15 names, some of us have like 10 names. Your CV is not a document where you should put your entire catalog of names. Okay. On your CV, it should be your first name and your last name. Basically, that's what should be there. And I'll tell you why. When I was recruiting a few years ago for my company in 2017, I got a lot of CVs. I shortlisted a lot of CVs. And when I wanted to email them, most of the names on my CV are different from the names of the people who sent them. You find out that somebody has sent you XYZABC as their first and last name. And when you look at the CV, it has RSTWXY as their name. It's confusing. Okay. Your name is Adebayo Jacobs Amo. Anywhere you go in your professional circle, be known as that. That is not an environment where you want to put 15 names on it. Okay. Don't do that. Right. Let's go. Basically, just put your contact emails. A lot of people have two mobile numbers, three mobile numbers. No, don't put all your mobile numbers on there. Put your mobile number on the document, the one that they could use to get hold of you anytime. Okay. Now, I need to put a caveat here. Some of you are at the very beginning of your career. So I'll come to that in a minute, but let's run through the CV and then we'll talk about what your CV might look like. There's no particularly acceptable format for a CV, apart from making sure you've proofread it. It has no grammatical, typographical errors in it. There's a lot of white spaces in there people can actually see. Okay, so they can read and follow you. They can know you professionally from your CV. So I put a profile in there at the top of my CV. It's just a paragraph. And I've basically explained what I do, how I do it, what I've done before, in what capacity, and what sort of things I have done. So I said, I'm ICEP certified test manager because I am helping stress project program managers to successfully implement IT project. This will make sense to you when we start talking about interviews. Okay. And then I told him, I mentioned the sort of roles I've done: test analyst, tester, test lead, test manager, test environment manager, defect manager. I've done all of those things before. Mind you, I did not explain what those things are. Okay. And then I said, I provide testing expertise to the public and private healthcare providers, major infrastructures, utility companies, extracting information from application system on the test and presenting same to stakeholders and decision makers to decide when product is safe for deployment. Okay. As a hiring manager, that is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that will come onto my project and help me deliver my project. Every hiring manager has a problem. And the problem is they are looking for people who can solve their problem. Okay, remember that. We'll come to that in a bit. And then I've gone ahead to list my technical skills. Now, everything here, I've written them out as if a 6-year-old is going to read this. Automation and quality management tools. I have QTP experience, Selenium application lifecycle management, Jira, Oracle testing suite. Most of this might not mean anything to a lot of people. But in my professional circle, these are tools. These are different type of tools. These are automation tools. These are quality management tools. All sorts of tools. The test methodologies that I've worked on most recently, my defect management and tracking skills, domain management. And then I put my personal skills, stakeholder engagement, leadership and mentoring, solution provider, public speaking. And then on the very first page, I put my most recent experience. So if someone get hold of the first page of my CV, they know everything about me that I need them to know, basically. So your very first page of your CV should tell anyone who is reading it everything about you. Okay? They need to see everything that should spark their interest to invite you for an interview. And on the second page of my CV, I've got achievements, previous experience. Now, all of this are previous projects that I've done. I've managed to break them down into like a sentence or two each with date and time, my title, the organization, the sort of project, and all of that. And then at the bottom, I put my educational qualifications. And that's the end of my CV. My career is about 19 years old. I have a two-page CV. That is what you should aspire to. Your CV should be about 2 pages. Reason being, in a pile of CV, you want your CV to be read. How long does a hiring manager have to read your own CV? It has been said that some managers skim through CVs in 8 seconds. Some people will say 4 minutes. Some people will say 2 minutes. I don't know. But when I get to recruit people and I'm looking at CVs, I basically read your first page. I literally read your first page. Your first page will tell me whether I should invite you for an interview or not. Remember what I said to you: show, don't tell. Show me what you know, what you do, what you've done, your experiences, your past experiences, knowledge, whatever, history. Don't tell me. Okay? I will explain that later on. So that is my CV. Now, this is the most up to date CV I have. This is my most up to date CV. Okay? So this CV has gone out. I've sent it out to a few people. Now, this is my base CV. So anytime, every time that I come across a job application, for example, this one here, I hope you guys can see my screen. I look at the description. What do they want? What sort of requirement do they need? Mandatory skills, Microsoft Project, OW, ICEP practitioner. I already have ICEP on my thingy. That's fine. Microsoft Project. I do use Microsoft Project. I will go back to my CV and go, right, these people need Microsoft Project. So I will put Microsoft Project here in this technical skill, right? It might actually go here because it's a tool. I'll just add it there. Never send out your CV for a job without reading through the CV. Okay. Now, a lot of CVs that I've seen, they have a lot of stuff on it that can work against you when someone is reading your CV to shortlist you for a job. When you are like a year, 2 years into your career, to be frankly honest with you, your CV should be about a page long. Basically, the things you know, your contact information and your name at the top, a brief description of yourself, the things you've done, in the past. And that might not even be software testing related. For example, if you're a fresh graduate, this bit here, this bit here should talk about your qualification, not as in your degree or anything. It's just basically putting a paragraph together telling me what you've done in the past year during your national service, um, out of school, when you were in school, the sort of things you were doing that has prepared you for the job market. I was able to put all of this there because I've been doing this for long. So if you say, for example, on your CV, um, I'm a fresh graduate with degree in XYZ, and I have done XYZ, and I have done XYZ. two sentences at the top. And then you go into your personal skills, technical skills. Now, your technical skills, don't bullet list them. No, don't do that. Some people will say bullet list them. No, I'm trying to make you fit your CV into 2 pages. Bullet list will take you longer. No, don't do that. Okay? Just go, I have some commercial knowledge of Selenium IDE, Jenkins, JSON, Oracle Application Testing Suite. Leave it at that. Your personal skills, I'm a very good team player. I can do X, Y, Z. I can engage with people. I can communicate more fluently with anyone. In fact, I speak 3 languages. Your other skills, you list all of those things, not in a bullet point. Just make it like a sentence of it. Okay. And then you go into your experience. Now, if you're a fresh graduate, which means your NYC, if you haven't been employed since then, is your last experience. Put your description of it, National Youth Service Corps, date, duration, and then say what you did. I taught physics at a science school and mathematics to SS2 students, and I prepare students for their WIEC. These are the things I do, and name the achievement you've had. Now, as a fresh graduate, that is it. Okay. A lot of people would think that their CV has to be 3 or 4 pages long. Hence, they put things they can't defend on their CV. If you're coming to me and you have on your CV, I have Cucumber, Selenium, um, Java, C Sharp, C++, all of that. You and I are going to have a very long chat. And trust me, it is not going to be comfortable conversation for you. Because when you come with such repertoire, I expect you to be an experienced professional. So don't present yourself on your CV as something that you are not. Okay? There's no shame in being a fresh graduate. All of us, all of us, every single person in the professional world started one day. We were all rookies at some point. Okay? We were all rookies at some point. So your CV is your own check. Is like a checkbook. That is what gets you through the door. That is what gets you through the door, through the pile, through the list, put you in front of a hiring manager. So let's talk more generally about the things you should put in your CV as a software tester. What do we do as testers? We test. So that should be obvious. You're a software tester. Don't mix your business analysis CV with your testing CV. I know a few people that are business analysts as well as software testers, okay? And they hold jobs in both roles. Oftentimes, they switch between business analysis and software testing. And most of the time, I tell them maintain different CVs, okay? I have just one profession, testing. So testing is all I do. Okay, I don't do anything else. So I don't have another version of my CV. It's just my testing CV. But some people have business analysis. Some people are trainers. Some people are certified tester, certified trainer, certified business analyst, certified service manager, or whatever. Do not mix your CV up. Don't put your service management skills or tools on your software testing CV. It's confusing. And basically, it rules you out in shortlisting because other people will come with a software testing focused CV, and that's what I'm looking for. I know you have these other skills that could help me, but at that point in time, I'm looking for a software tester. Okay, right. So on your CV, make it obvious that you're a software tester. Okay, all of your experiences, all of your knowledge should be testing focused. If you have 4, 5 years worth of experiences, make it count. Detailed, if you are a permanent employee and you are just putting your CV up because you are open, you might change job. So you only have one role on your CV, state it there. It's not a crime. You haven't killed anyone because you are a permanent employee. As a matter of fact, you are employed. You're doing a professional job. Okay. So state it there. Put the content of your CV to let people know that you are a permanent employee and that is what you do. Okay. So don't mix match. Okay. Secondly, if you are going to reference test tools on your CV, that's good. But make sure the test tools you reference on your CV are the sort of tools that you could demonstrate that you can use. Don't just put any tool on your CV because you've heard about it, because you know about it, because someone has told you about it, because you have some materials at home that you could read and they could give you some knowledge of it, or because you think that, yeah, I can forge my way through it. No, you can't. If you say that you have Selenium ID on your CV, be prepared to demonstrate that you could use it. If you say that you have SQL skills on your CV, be prepared to demonstrate that you know it. So anything you put on your CV, make sure you are in a position to demonstrate, if asked, that you could use it. Let's go back to my CV in a bit. My CV has this. Where is it? This one. Yeah. So my CV has a few tools here: Quick Test Pro, Selenium, ALM, Jira, OATS. I'm actively using every single one of these right now as we speak. I can demonstrate to you that I can use it. Okay. Now think of this. Do I know Java? Yes, I do. Do I know C sharp, C++? Of course I do. Do I know SQL? Yes, I do. Do I have some other skills that are not on my CV? Yes, I do. I'll tell you why I didn't put them there in a minute. But at the moment, my CV is focused to one thing: the kind of jobs I'm looking for, the sort of skills the jobs demand, the sort of requirement the job needs. So, if you're looking for a test analyst job, don't do a CV for a web test analyst job. No. Don't do a CV for automation test analyst job. No. Don't do a CV for insurance or finance or utilities test analyst CV job. No. You are a test analyst in any industry you find yourself. Your CV should be a software test analyst CV. Your experience should marry, your skills should marry, your previous experience should marry. All of them should point to one thing: you are a software test analyst. Should you put tools on your CV? Yes, you should. The layout of your CV is, for me, is not really much of a problem. It's the content. But present your CV in such a way that it's not everything going on there all over the place kind of CV. This is a Word document. That's my CV. It's a Word document. It tells you what I want it to tell you. It tells you the kind of job I'm able to do. It tells you everything I've been doing. At no point do I put reference on request on my CV. No, that's taking that's taking precious space off your CV. There are so many things you could put there. Of course, they will request for reference, but think about this: if you are not shortlisted, why would anyone request for a reference from you? Do you get the point? If you are not shortlisted at all, no reference is needed. Okay, the reference is only needed if you are shortlisted. Make your CV very simple, easy to read. Don't go and start using some funny fonts. Use professional fonts like Calibri. Make sure it's standard document. Proofread it. a lot of the things there, show them what you have done. Don't tell them. There's a difference between them. I can show you without telling you. Okay? Show, don't tell. That's the rule of thumb for a CV. Show them you're putting a document together that you want to use to get the attention of people. Put enough information in there to make someone go, I want to speak to that person. Do you understand? That is what your CV should look like. I'll put a copy of this together when I send out the requirement. It might not be my most up to date one. By the way, if I show you the previous one, it's similar to it, but as you can see, that has a 3-page one. Now, the difference between my base CV that I put on job site is, and this is something you guys should try. Now, when people go on job portals to get CVs, like if you apply for a job on job portals, or like in the UK, you have recruitment agents that have loads and loads of CV in their database. So they do a search. They do a search by keywords. Now, as a software tester, think about all the keywords that goes with what you do. Think about all the keywords that applies to you as a software tester or as a test analyst. Regression testing, retesting, integration testing, all sorts of testing. Then you have defect management, you have defect priority, all sorts of keywords. You can't put all of those things in your CV that you're sending out all the time. But you can put that in your CV that you put on the job portals. What that does for you is it makes sure every time they run a keyword search on that database, your CV will be selected. Okay, your CV will be selected among the CV that would hit if they do a keyword search for, say, for example, regression testing or retesting or integration testing. Most of the time, what I do on the base CV that I put out there is I write this out on the very last page of my CV in transparent font that you can't see, but they are there. I couldn't find that version of my CV, but usually at the end of it, like here, I'll just start typing in transparent font that you can't see, and I'll start typing things like integration testing, regression testing, all sorts of word testing, and any keywords that I can think of is there. You just can't see it. And then I save that, and those are the version that I put on the job portals, so that when they do a keyword search, my CV would come up as well. My CV will be selected. That will put my CV in front of someone to read it. Do you understand that? You could try that. But your CV should be a very simple document that shows what you've done, what your experiences are, what your skill set are, but doesn't tell. Okay? So that's the first part of it. Now, the second part of our conversation tonight is preparing for interview. Now, this is something that we're all going to do a lot, especially if you are contractors like me. So we've done our CV. Our CV has been selected. We've been invited for interview. Now, I need you to pay attention to the things I'm going to tell you now. A lot of people lose their interviews at the very first question. Tell me about yourself. Okay. Now, that question will come to you like your CV has been selected. Usually, when I'm recruiting, I'm doing interview, I have your CV in front of me. So I already know your name, I know your number, I know all of the things you put on your CV about yourself. But usually, the very first question you get in an interview is tell me about yourself. Okay. The mistake a lot of people make is they start telling me about their name, what they do, who they are, where they come from. No, that's not what the question is. The question, tell me about yourself, means why should I employ you? Why should I employ you? Anytime someone asks you in a professional setting, tell me about yourself, what they are asking you is, why should I employ you? They are not asking for your name. I already know your name. I can see your CV. They are not asking for your contact details. They are not asking for your family history. They are not asking for the school you attended. They are not asking you for anything personal about you. That was a professional question. Tell me about yourself. It simply means, why should I employ you? That's the first thing. A lot of people lose interview at that point. The moment I say to you, tell me about yourself, and you're saying, oh, my name is Adebayo Jacobs Amo. I attended University of Ibadan. I studied civil engineering and I majored in XYZ, and I'm the fifth born in a family of 10, and I live in Kent. And no, 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 no. You've totally lost me. Tell me about yourself. I'm a professional software tester. Um, I've done projects on web testing, application testing, mobile devices testing, um, stuff like that. That's what I want to hear. And usually, you look at the sort of roles you are applying for, that you are being interviewed for. Those are the sort of answers you give. If you are being interviewed for a testing role, a web application testing role, um, I've done a lot of web application testing roles on so many different platforms, on Google Cloud, and then I've used a lot of different browsers, stuff like that. Not where you come from, who you are, and all of that. Be mindful of that. Another thing that catches people out is confidence. Do not start your response to any interview question with the word okay. If I ask you, so on your last project, according to your CV, you work for Globalcom in Lagos as a software tester. What did you do on that project? Do not say okay on that project. No, no, no. Don't. Don't do that. Go straight to the point. Answer the question. Okay? Don't start your response to that question with okay. It tells me you lack confidence. Okay? Now, when you are answering the question, tell me about yourself. The reason I advise people to talk about what they've done, and you probably would not know, but I'll tell you this. When you are telling someone something you know, your countenance is different compared to when you are telling someone something you've done. If I ask you to tell me about the time you had a difficulty at work and how did you manage it or resolve it, if you haven't been in that situation before, I would know. If you have been in that situation before, I would know. Because when you are talking about something you've done, something you know, your face will light up because nobody can rob you of that experience. You know it, you've done it. You are probably going through it right now. So your countenance will change, your face will light up. But when you are telling me something you've read in a book, I would know. So when you are answering the question, tell me about yourself, talk about things you've done. I want to see the excitement in it. I want to see the confidence. Like, look, I have done this. I've tested on so many browsers. Oh my God, I can't remember how many of them. But there's this particular browser that seems to struggle with a lot of times when I test with it. It's called Brave. It does not allow pop-ups, and our application needs to allow pop-ups to work. So the moment you start talk like that, what you are doing in essence, you are taking control of the interview. You are pushing the hiring manager to talk about the things you are most confident about. As a software tester, when you sit down in an interview and someone asks you questions like, what do you understand regression testing to be? Of course, you know what regression testing is. Of course, you understand that you know what regression testing is. What he is asking you is your experience of regression testing. How have you done regression testing? Have you perhaps done a regression testing exercise that has gone wrong? Have you perhaps done regression testing exercise that have saved your client a lot of time? Like in my case, if you ask me, what do you know about regression testing? I'll tell you this, right? On my last project, we have a regression test pack that takes us about 4 weeks to run manually. So what we did, we automated it and we were able to break it down into a pack that we could run in 4 days. It was a team effort. We all have to run or learn a new tool. We all have to learn how to analyze the report of the tool. These are the things we've done. It's not question and answer, it's a conversation. Okay. So those things catches people out. I've seen people sit down and interview and get asked questions and they deploy the textbook at it. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's right. But how does that help me? How does it help me that you know that regression testing is what we do after changes so that nothing else has broken? Okay, how does that help me? Every single question you are being asked at interview is potentially a problem the hiring manager has that he is looking for solution in you. So your response to the question should be solution to his problems, not answers to his questions. Do you get that? Should I repeat myself? If someone asks you a question and interview, potentially that question is a problem he's got that is looking for a solution for. Now, is asking you that question, is posing the problem to you, looking for a solution from you. I'll give you an example. In 2013, I went for an interview. The shortlisting was done. It's been finished for weeks. But the guy rang me up and said there is a role going in Kingston, in London, that you might be interested. Well, I said, oh, send my CV. And then he did. And I was shortlisted. I went for the interview. And Chris, that's his name, Chris Michel, was the hiring manager. He sat down in front of me and he asked me one question. And he said, oh, Ade, how are you? So tell me about a little bit about yourself. Now, the application they are trying to deploy is a radiology information system. I've done the application before. The application has one problem, Java. There is a particular version of Java that works with it. If you don't get that particular version of Java, it would not work. Apparently, they've been struggling with the application. They've not actually deployed the application into the test environment. None of them have seen the user interface of the application because they were struggling with it, because they were unaware of the Java situation. So when he asked me, tell me about yourself, I went, I'm a test manager. I've been doing testing on health care industry for a while, and I've deployed radiology information systems, RIS. And there's this problem that is very common to the application. Is Java. If you can't figure out the Java version of it, it's simply not going to work. It's taking me 2 minutes to say that. And Chris was stunned. And Chris said, sorry, repeat that. I said, you're trying to deploy Chris. And he went, yes. I said, listen, the problem we have with RIS a lot of time is Java. There's a particular version of Java that we should use. If we don't get that version of Java, it's not going to work. And Chris Michel said to me, Chris Michel, by the way, is on LinkedIn. He's on my LinkedIn. And Chris Michel said to me, are you sure? I said, yeah. He said, wait for me. So he went there and called the deployment guy and said, bring your laptop, come over. So the guy walked into the interview room, sat down in front of me with his laptop on his lap, and he said to me, Ade, can you repeat what you said? And I repeated it. And the guy was like, okay. So what Java version do you think will work with it? I can't remember the particular version now, but for the sake of argument, let's just say version 16.4. So I mentioned the version of the Java, and he stood up to leave to try it out. And Chris said, no, do it here. Try it on your laptop. And he did, and it worked. That was the end of the interview. Chris did not ask me a single other question. He had a problem. I know, or I could reckon what the problem might be because of the project he was doing. So when he asked me to tell him about myself, I went straight for the problem he has. I just literally solved the problem for him. Tell me about yourself. You have a problem. This is the solution to your problem. That's the response to that question. And say it in such a way that, yes, I've done this before, so I know it. So, as a fresher going into an interview for probably your first job, your key points, your strong point are the things that you've done that you know. It may not even be software testing related, but those are the things you've done. Your conviction in trying to tell me that you've done this and all of that, and the excitement in you while telling me tells me a lot about you compared to you trying to make me understand that you know software testing, you've been doing software testing for a long time while you haven't. A lot of people will tell you, oh, don't be honest with hiring managers, you're going to lose the job. I don't believe in that. Apart from your house, the other place where you spend the largest amount of time is at work. So if you lie about who you are and you get away with it, you will be found out because you are going to spend a long time working with me and I would figure out who you are. So do not lie. Not on your CV, not at interview. If someone asks you a question at interview and you genuinely do not know, a lot of things could happen. You could forge your way through it and do very well. You could simply say, I haven't come across that before. I actually don't know, but I'll be willing to learn that. That's a new one for me. That's honesty. It might be the one thing that gives you the job. Okay, this person is willing to learn. So he knows some things, she doesn't know some things, but she's willing to learn some things. We can actually work with this person. If you present yourself as the all-knowing, almighty software tester, some hiring manager are out there willing to catch you out at interview, willing to see the flaw in your CV, willing to see how they can break you, and you can prevent all of that. So let me recap for you. At interview, you are going there to answer questions. Technically, you are going there to solve problems. Every single question you are asked, treat it like a problem that needs a solution. Provide your answer in form of solution to the problem, not your textbook answers. And it starts from the very first question. Tell me about yourself. I'm a problem-solving person. I've worked on XYZ. These are the sort of problems I've come across in the past. This is how I've resolved them. Most of the time, I really don't know, but I'm surrounded by people, my manager, who I can ask questions, my team members who I can ask questions. Together, we've managed to resolve a lot of problems that really brought the team together and make sure we deliver on time. Those are the responses you need. Be genuine about yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. There are 7 billion people on earth. You are only you. There's no two of you. Even when we start cloning ourselves, when we get to the point where we start having a clone version of ourselves, there's just one you and a clone version of you. There's no two of you. Be genuine. If you don't know it, you don't know it. Okay? If you know it, say it out convincingly. Don't start fidgeting. Okay, yes, selenium. No, do not do that. Answer it as a matter of fact. If I ask you, do you know selenium? I'm not asking you whether you know selenium. It's on your CV that you know selenium. What I'm asking you is, what have you done with selenium? What sort of testing, what sort of application have you tested with selenium? If I ask you anything about compatibility testing, what do you know about compatibility? I'm not asking you if you know compatibility testing. Do not define it. If you are asked anything at interview, do you understand what regression testing is? Tell me about it. Don't define regression testing, please. Do not define it because you know it. The hiring manager knows it. It has no value at all in that context. You could tell them the sort of compatibility test you've done, the sort of cross-browser testing you've done. All of these things, remember, as software testers, we are problem solvers. Okay? So when people ask you questions, look at the question as a problem that needs a solution. It might be that they are not struggling with it. It might be that they just want to know what you know or see how you come across, either as knowing it or experience of it. But you treat it as a problem that needs a solution. Okay. Then another thing I want to talk to you about is this. When you go to an interview, everything on your CV, the hiring manager already knows. Do not repeat yourself. If your CV is good enough to get you an interview, it has done its job. You cannot rely on your CV 100% to get you a job. Your CV is supposed to get you an interview. If you are going for an interview, your CV has done its job. The rest is you. Okay? Once you are at interview and you are being asked questions, answer the questions as a matter of fact. Give solutions to problems instead of answering the questions. Speak with experience. If you don't have any, I know what this is. I don't have any experience of using it, but I know what it is. I've used this in my practice session a lot of times, in my training sessions a lot of times, but I don't have any commercial experience of it. No one is going to kill you. Every person started their career at some point. Everybody started from zero at some point. Okay, so don't try to forge your way through questions. Okay, but those are the common things that a lot of people do that cost them jobs, but they don't know because everybody think when you are going for an interview is a one-way street. No, it is not. Most of the time, when when your CV is selected, technically you have the job. It's yours for the taking. When you are being interviewed, a lot of things are being looked at. Can I work with this person? Can this person fit in my team? I'll give you another example. Years ago, I went for an interview at London Victoria. All the questions I was asked, easy peasy. I answered the question. I was flying. I knew because the hiring manager told me, wow, this is good. We need you on this team. And at the end of the interview, he asked me that, oh, do you have 10 minutes so I can introduce you to the team and we can go down to the pub and sit down and just network together so everybody can meet you? And I said, no, that I'm going somewhere. And he was like, oh, okay. He apologized and that was it. I didn't get the job. When the recruitment agency gave me feedback, you would think that I got the job. The feedback they gave me was glowing. You did very well. It was fantastic. It was the hiring manager could not speak highly enough of you and all of that and all of that. But wait, where's the job offer? I didn't get it. So I emailed the guy and the guy said, Jacobs, you did very well at the interview. Well, I run a team of geeks and nerds and we do everything together. What could be so important that you can't spend 10 minutes with your team? That was the point where I lost the job. Okay. So a lot of things have been looked at when you are being interviewed. The fact that you're there means you're good enough for the job. Prove it. Now, you remember I said on your CV, show them, don't tell. At interview, tell them, don't show them. Okay. Now tell them. All right. What is XYZ? When you're talking about things like that, the situation like if we have delivery mobile application that has a web version, mobile version, and all of that, we have to test it. And then every changes we make, because it's all centralized on Google Cloud, every change in one, we have to test the other version to make sure it hasn't broken anything in the other version. Okay, that's a very good one because you are regression testing, even though nothing has changed on there, but because it's one build that has different outlets. So every time you make a change, you just test all the devices and all the versions anyway. That's good. You haven't described to me what regression testing. You've just told me what you've done in terms of regression testing. Ways like that. Get an understanding of what you do. So when you are asked a question, give them solutions, not answers. Solutions. If they are struggling with, for example, if they are struggling with Java and they could not run some applications because of Java, and you come to the interview and the hiring manager kept going on about Java, know for a fact that he has a problem that he's looking for a solution for. The moment he goes, what do you know about Java? Well, a lot of devices run Java. You need to make sure you are running the most up-to-date version of Java. Or in some instances, if there's a particular version of Java that the application runs with, that's the version we need to use. Because if we don't use it, it will break the application. It will simply not work. That tells me that you know what you're talking about. Not, yeah, I know Java. All the applications run Java. This is what Java is. Yeah, but what does Java do? How have you used it? What's your experience of using Java? Do you get the concept now? So look at the questions not as question and answer. Okay? Look at it like this guy has a problem. I am here to prove to him or to tell him the solution to his problems. That is the mindset I take into interviews. All over my career, I've had interviews that I did very well, but I didn't get the job. I've had interviews that I got the job, I turned it down. But the key point is my CV is straightforward enough to get me to the interview. At the interview is me, myself, and I alone. That is when I tell the hiring manager what I know. So the moment I open my mouth to talk, I start solving the problems. I look at his questions and me as problems that he has that is looking for solution. And my response to his question is about providing solutions to those problems. I'm not just answering a question. At the end of it all, if you are asked, do you have any questions? We are software testers, guys. What do we do most? We ask questions. So, what sort of questions can you ask? What project are you currently doing? What phase of the project are you? What tools do you use? What sort of testing do you do? What does the testing looks like? What's the structure of the team? If I start work on Monday, where do I start? What's the most important thing or what's the most urgent thing you want me to work on? Say for example, I walk into the office on Monday and it's my first day. What sort of things would you want me to do? That gives you an idea of everything you've been talking about because his response will give you a clear indication of the problems he has. Oh, if you're working on Monday, I need you to write some test cases for me. It might just be that all along he's been asking you questions, trying to nudge you in the direction of test cases. All of a sudden you realize that, oh, you need someone to come and work urgently on creating some test cases. There you go. But if all along you've talked about how you design test cases quite quickly, how you do exploratory testing in case there's no documentation, and and that's an interview question as well. How do you prepare if there's no documentation? How do you prepare to test? Don't go into explaining what exploratory testing is. Just tell them how you've done it. If there are no documentation to do testing, how do you go about it? I explore the application. I explore the system on the test. Basically, you're saying we do exploratory testing without saying we do exploratory testing. You just tell them. I explore the application. I go into the application. I play with it. I fiddle with it. I gather information about it. And then I start designing my test cases based on what the application does. That's you saying, I do exploratory testing. But you haven't mentioned exploratory testing at all. If he turns around and go, oh, so what do you call that? That's called exploratory testing. If it doesn't, don't say it. Okay. And if anyone asks you a question at interview, please do not repeat the question. What is exploratory testing? What is exploratory testing? Nah. Don't do that. That tells me that you've memorized it. You're trying to juggle with your memory to remember what it is. That would not fill me with confidence. Okay? Don't do that. If you are asked a question and you don't get it, or you need to think before you can respond to the question, tell the person to repeat the question. That gives you like a minute or two to think. You heard the question, but you need some few minutes to think about the question before you actually respond. Say things like, please, can you repeat the question, please? I didn't quite get that. Please, can you repeat the question? While he's repeating the question, you're thinking. That's how it goes. So when you eventually respond, your response is calculated, well informed. Don't repeat the question yourself as if you're asking yourself the question. You are not the interviewer, you are being interviewed. Another thing I do, if you ask me a question and I need to think, I just drink water. Usually they ask you, oh, do you want coffee or water or tea? Or I'll have coffee, please, or I'll have water, please. That doesn't go against you. Okay, that does not do anything against you. You just basically mean you're comfortable where you are. So if you ask me something and I'm not sure how to go about it immediately, if I don't even want to say, please repeat your question, I'll just grab my cup of water and drink it. You don't expect me to talk while I'm drinking water. While I'm drinking the water, I'm thinking. As soon as I put my cup of water down, I'm ready to go. I've just nicked about a few seconds of your time to think about the question you're asking me. We should all know these things. Okay? So those are the tips I have for you. When you are going for an interview, make sure you prepare yourself. Stand somewhere on your own. If you don't have a sounding board, answer questions. Ask yourself the question as if you have a problem. Then answer them as if you are solving them. Make a conversation out of it. The same way you are being interviewed is the same way you are interviewing your interviewer. Because I know a lot of us are desperate for work, everybody's looking for a job, but hey, it's a two-way street. You might be offered the job, but you might not like the job. You might not like the environment. It might not be the appropriate job for you. So you need to sound it out to know the sort of team you're joining, the sort of manager you're joining, the sort of project you're joining, the training opportunities, if there are any. Those are the questions you ask. But on your own, you go there prepared. They ask you a question, you provide solutions. Don't repeat the questions. Don't say, okay, don't fidget. Don't do any of those things. Now, part one of this session is your CV. Your CV should be simple, straightforward enough. And I'll share a copy of my CV with you guys. Mine has about 17 years worth of experience. Don't worry about it. Yours might just be a page, but make sure that page has everything that can put you in front of a hiring manager on it. Okay? Design your CV in such a way that it's testing focused. If you have been a customer service manager in the past, or you've now got testing certification and you want to be a software tester, I would mention that in my profile, not in my competency or technical skill or anything. No, I would just casually mention it. I have done customer service management in the past. That was before I became a software tester. I've served at bar. I don't know how many of you know AOC. AOC is House of Rep lady in America. She used to be a waitress. She had that on her CV. I saw her CV somewhere on the internet a few months ago. You can't wish your history away. But we're not talking about the history now. We're talking about now, here. So casually mention it. If you have been a physics teacher before doing your NYC service, casually mention it. But the focus is you are a software testing now. You're looking for a software testing job. So let's do it. Now, if your CV is strong enough, good enough to get you an interview is one opportunity that you must not let go. You go there prepared to solve problems, not to answer questions. Prepare yourself to solve problems. View every question as a problem that needs a solution. I can't repeat that enough. Okay? So, key things, don't fidget, don't repeat the questions, don't start your response with okay. Tell me about yourself. We are not talking about you. We're talking about what you've done, your experience. How can your experience help me? Like one of my friends one of my mentors. He used to say this like asking you, tell me about yourself is like basically means why the F should I give you this job? That's what he says. It's a matter of fact question. Tell me about yourself means why should I give you this job? So your response to that must be calculated, should be about your experience, not about you, should be about things you've done, things you've recently done, your experience, your most recent experience. And if you can link it to the kind of job you are being interviewed for, even better. If you are being interviewed for a web testing role and you are being asked to tell them about yourself, tell me about the last web testing project you've done. It doesn't have to be a commercial project. It could just be a private project you're doing. It could be something you're doing in your house. It all counts. Web test. I was testing the bank website a few weeks ago with some team of mine. It's a public project we're doing for a community, and we were using the application was built to run on Internet Explorer. Unfortunately, Internet Explorer no longer exists, and they're having difficulty because a lot of people can't get online to check their banking application. So we're doing web testing of it across different browsers to let them know how they can readapt it, rebuild it to make sure that all other browsers will work with it. It's not a paying project. It's not a paid job, but you've done it. So the next question there, that would drive the conversation because that's what they're looking for. You've just done one. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but that's how it should be. Now, some hiring managers are out there that just want to catch you out, that just want to, you don't worry about that. Okay. I see a lot of people being jittery about what if they don't like me. No, 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 you don't worry about that. You are going for a job interview, go there with the mindset to solve problems, with the mindset that whatever you ask me, if I know it, I will tell you. To the best of my knowledge, to the best of my ability, I'll answer the question. If I don't know it, I'll be honest with myself to say, I actually haven't seen that before. I don't know. If you are not the type that will say, I don't know, I get that. But if you are going to forge your way through it and you get the job, it might be that's the first thing you have to do. I've had someone called me at work in the past that he has to work on PowerChat. At interview, he told them he's a PowerChat expert and he has never seen PowerChat before. First day on the job, he was making frantic phone calls to a lot of people looking for who can give him a crash course on Power Chat because that's the problem they have. That's what they need an expert for. The expert was him and he had no clue. You don't want to be that kind of person. He lost the job after a few weeks, by the way. Okay. I hope everything I've told you tonight, you use it. I hope it's been helpful for you. We are all different. Remember, I've been doing this for a while. You are just starting out. So remember to tailor your CV to meet your circumstances. Okay. Don't try to put the same kind of CV that I am using to suit you. I have 17 odd years of experience. You have one. You have four. You have three. The sort of project I've done, you haven't done. So don't try to copy my CV to make it look like yours. No. Write your own CV. It's something you've done. I can review it for you. I can send it to people. I can even share your CV like you're looking for work. Send it to recruitment agency. They'll come back to you. But don't try to copy another person's CV. Not even your teammate. Not even people on the same team as you. Do not do that. Be your own person. Write your own CV. We are all interested in our own different ways. We should show that. That should tell you. If I show you my CV again, 1 second. If I just show you my CV once again, application window, where's my CV? I think it's this one. Not this one. Don't know if you can see my screen. This one. See here, look at this. This is to tell you how recent I updated this. Do you guys see what I've just shown you there? I even have it on my CV that I founded Niger Test Crowd. Niger Test Crowd is less than a month old. Make sure your CV is reviewed regularly. Don't just write your CV and leave it. No. Write your CV, review it regularly, your base CV, review it regularly. If there's something new that you've learned, if there's something new that you've done, put it on the CV. If you have done a project that is just like a casual community, like the Libri, if you don't have any testing experience whatsoever, I expect you to put the Libri project, my Libri books on your CV. Did you do it? Yes. Can anyone deny that? I don't think so. Do you have people who can attest that you did it? Of course. There is about 19 of you on the project. Out of the 19, someone will remember your name. I will definitely remember your name. Apart from that, there is a record. We have a test report that shows you've done something. So put it on it. You've done my Libri books testing. You are a test analyst on it. Describe what you've done. Describe everything you've done. How you've done it. Show them that I've done this thing. I did it on this application. I did it on web version of it. I did it on mobile version of it. Did you do it? Of course you did it. Are you making up your CV? No. You see what I'm saying? So if you are just starting out, but you want to be focused on software testing, these are the kind of things I expect to put on your CV. Things you've done. If that's the only thing you've done, don't worry. There are people out there who are looking for people just starting out to employ them all over the world. Not everybody is looking for experienced testers. No, because none of us started out as an experienced tester. All of us started out as a rookie, as some of you are. So don't let that put you down. I can't go there because there is experienced people. It's not for you to judge. It's not for you to shortlist yourself or not shortlist yourself. If we want you to do that yourself, we wouldn't ask you for your CV. Do you get what I'm saying? So don't rule yourself out of any opportunity because you think, Ade is going to apply as well. Jesus Christ, I don't stand a chance. What if the hiring manager is not looking for an experienced tester? What if the hiring manager is looking for someone junior? Go on job portals and see how many junior roles are out there. Go on job portal and see how many roles are out there that comes with training that will say to you, if you have 1 year experience as a software tester, that's good enough for us. So don't shortlist yourself out of the job. Don't rule yourself out. Make sure your CV is okay. Make sure you can defend your CV. Make sure you can defend everything you put on your CV. Don't put too much info on your CV. let them ask you. Let them ask you about, oh, I see you have some automation tools on your CV. Selenium is widely used in our company. Do you have knowledge or experience of using Selenium? That is the point where you should kick off about Selenium. That is the point you should kick off about Jira. Don't put Jira on your CV when you've only read about it. The fact that you read about it means you can use it, but you haven't used it before. The worst thing anybody can do at interview is trying to talk about things they haven't done before. It will show that you're basing your response on the textbook knowledge. But if they ask you without putting it on there, that means they actually use it there. That means you will be using it. That means all the theory, all the knowledge about it you have from textbook, you actually have to deliver. You have to use it. That's fine. Then you can talk about it. Don't talk about C sharp, Java, or Python when you haven't written a single line of code in Python, when you haven't written a single line of SQL query, when you haven't written a single line of C sharp or C++. Don't do that. If they ask you, yes, I have some knowledge of it. Way back in school, when we were doing our coursework, we write C sharp and C sharp sharp. And oh, in school, how long ago was that? That was last year. I'm a fresh graduate. You don't need to say that. They look at your CV and go, yeah, he's a fresh graduate. When I recruited for my employees 3 years ago in Nigeria, about 90% of my employees are fresh graduates 3 years ago. They come with no experience whatsoever. And all the questions I ask them are professional questions. So, but they responded, and I look at the responses and go, this person will solve problems. That person will solve problems. I can employ this kind of person and go on holiday with nothing to worry about. You should be a problem solver. If you cannot convey in an interview session lasting 45 hours to an hour that you are a problem solver, you need to go back to class. You need to retrain yourself as a software tester because that is what we do. We solve problems. Okay? Any questions? I hope this session has been useful for you. I hope we've learned a few things here. Last week, I'm aware that two of us went for interview. Um, but I hope if you're going for interview now, most of these things will be useful for you and you'll be able to remember. I'll make sure I send this recording to you guys so you can listen to it again. But these are the key things you should be mindful of. Okay. In summary, don't forge your CV. Don't put too much info on your CV. Put it in such a way that is simple. The information is there, easy to read in the right format. When you are preparing for interview, have the mindset that I'm going for an interview where potentially every question I'm asked is a problem that needs a solution. So start composing your responses to common questions you come about with responses that solve the problems they have. Tell me about yourself. I've given you that example. You know what to say now about that questions. And if you ask a question, don't repeat the questions to the interviewer. Don't start your response with okay, right? Don't fidget. If you don't know something, be honest to say you don't know it. Things on your CV are things you've done. Okay, things you've done. So when you're talking about it, it shows in your face that this person is talking from experience. Yeah, okay. Now this is what we want. It conveys your confidence. Okay. I hope all of these things are useful for you. And if you have any questions along the line, please let me know. If you have any difficulty, please let me know. I'll share my CV with you. Remember, my CV has a lot of experience in it, so don't worry about it. Just make sure yours is as simple. Don't put too much into it. I have a witness on this platform tonight that can corroborate the story that our interview, our CV came in the way because she has stuff on her CV that she could not really talk about. I don't want you to make the same mistake as well. So everything on your CV, you should be able to talk about them. There should be things you've done. Okay. So thank you very much for coming, guys. It has been a pleasure having you around. and